That's my preferred look. Not because I return them after I wear them for 3 years. That's not why. Okay, I wouldn't do that. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. All right. Because if you look at colored shirts, Costco's, it seems like they always have good colored shirts. The white shirt's a little bit of an issue there.
Noisy in your house.
You get the colored shirts? You get the colored shirts?
No, I don't. I wish it would be.
Parrot, seriously, swords?
What, that's what he gave out?
Look over Hanukkah. That's how the Yavanim fought. What do you think they did? They fought. They didn't have guns.
He created an all-out war in Chayashiv.
I go to Rabbi Greenberg's and they do a gadol of the week and they give out a picture. It was Rosh Shlomo Freifeld this week.
Oh, I forgot Yataka. They had asked me to try and find a picture.
I don't know. They gave out a picture. So that was this week.
Isn't it Rav Hutner's yard site tonight?
What?
Isn't it Rav Hutner's yard site tonight? Yeah.
Who's?
Chav? Chav is Rav Hutner?
Chav Kislev. Yeah.
Who's?
Rav Hutner.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Rav Hutner's also down that side. It's my brother-in-law's yard side, my wife's brother's yard side also. So, yeah. Yeah, okay, ready to go? Okay, so we start for the next 7 blocked. It's all tumah and tara. We don't have to be so scared of it. But Aaron Kaplan posted a thing on the chat. I see. I'm not a chart guy. That stuff those charts, I don't know if charts work for some people. For me, they don't really work so well. But if that chart helps you, then gesundheit. But basically, just not to hatumah. So you're not allowed to make something tameh, right? And you can't make something into a higher level of tumah either. So there's different levels of tumah. There's avi avois hatumah, which is really only one thing. A dead person is an avi avois. There's nothing else. Then you have an avatuma, which can be somebody who touched a dead person, or a sheretz, and a few other things. Then you have, if whatever touches the avatuma becomes a rishon l'tumah, right? Then you have and then whatever touches that becomes a sheni, and that's it for chulin. That's it for chulin. It can't, if it's regular plain food like for us, that's it. That's the end of the line. Sheni is the end of the line. Then you have shlishi for trumah, meaning if this trumah and a trumah touches the sheni, so then that becomes, that for trumah's purposes, it will become tameh, and then it can't be eaten. Okay, Hanem. And then for kodshim, like if it's something that's going to be brought up on the mizbeach, then there's even a 4th level of revi. Right? We said it last week a little bit, but the way we look at it is like, catching since it's in Yonah D'Yom, catching a disease from somebody. Supposedly they're saying, I don't know what they're saying now, but at one point they were saying that if you catch it, it depends how strong you catch it from somebody. I mean, you catch it from somebody straight up, then you might have it a lot stronger. If you catch it from somebody who catches it from somebody who catches it from somebody, then it's a weaker strain. Right? That's what I found maybe is a mashal for this. The tumah is the same thing. The further away you get from the source of the tumah, the less strong the tumah is going to be. So again, we have, let's leave avi avois. You have avatuma, rishon l'tumah, sheni l'tumah, shlishi is only for trumah, and revi is only for kodshim. And then you have different things that are thrown in there. For liquids can become rishons. Food can't be matama food. As we go along, we'll see. Right?
Yeah, you can say maybe similar to whether you have to quarantine or not. How close were you to the actual infected person?
Very good. That's a good mashal also, right? How when you have to quarantine, how close were you to the source of the disease or of of the infection, right? The further you're away, the less it gets. So the same thing. So now what's going on in this Mishnah? So like we've been discussing for the parts of the last week. So at the end, Thursday, Friday, we were discussing what do you do with all that trumah that's chametz, right? Normally you can't just burn, you can't just take kodshim or kodshim trumah, whatever it is, and just burn it, right? Before Pesach, obviously you have to. So the thing is like this. Yeah, and you're not supposed to raise the level of something's tumah. So if something's a sheni, it's also for you to raise it to a rishon, right? However, in the Beis Hamikdash, when they were burning everything that's tameh, so what's the difference if you add? If let's say you take let's say in the Beis Hamikdash something became tamei shlishi, right? And you need to burn it now because what else are you going to do with it? Nobody could eat it. Yisrael can't eat it because it's kodshim. Kohen can't eat it because it's tameh, right? And you also have rishon stuff, which is the same thing, right? So rishon, but once you're burning it, who cares to make it from a shlishi to a rishon, right? Because again, if you have a rishon piece of meat that touches a shlishi piece of meat, it's going to become a sheni. So normally that's also to do because you're raising the level of the tumah, right? But when you're burning them anyways, who cares that you're raising it? Peretz's swords just arrived in my house, so there we go. Yeah, I hope it won't make too much background noise. But anyway, so we're saying, so in the Beis Hamikdash, we didn't care. Because when they burned it together, and we didn't care that you're adding on tumah, right? But out of the Beis Hamikdash, it might make a difference. So that's how, let's see how we go through the Mishnah. You guys look the Mishnah on Yudal Amud Aleph, 5 lines down from the top. So Reb Chanina, Skana Kohanim, right? That's also the name of the sugya that they go. All the sugyas have names. So this is Reb Chanina Skana Kohanim. Right? He was the assistant for the Kohanim, which really means it was the assistant for the Kohen Gadol. Right? And so he said, in the days of the Kohanim, they didn't stop themselves. They didn't stop themselves from burning the meat that became tamei with a vlad hatumah. Now, a vlad hatumah literally means a child or a baby of a tumah, which means we're going to see in the Gemara what level tumah is that. Shlishi, sheni, revi. We're going to see in the Gemara, but they didn't stop themselves from burning that in mabasa shenit ba'avatumah with something that became tamei with an avatumah. Now, something that became tamei with an avatumah is a rishon, right? Because an avatumah is the top, and then you have rishon that touched it. So the vlada tumah is less than a rishon, which we're going to see in the Gemara exactly which level of a rishon of which level it was. But the bottom line is it's going to touch a rishon, and it's going to get upgraded. The tumah status is going to get upgraded. So, but they didn't stop themselves from doing it. So even though they're adding tumah onto the tumah, and why were they able to do it? Because they're burning it anyway. So who cares? That's case number one. So that's the way they did in the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Akiva added on. They didn't stop themselves from lighting up the oil, right? In Yonah D'Yoma, that became puzzle with a tful yoim. Right, a tful yom is somebody who was toivel that day, but they're still tamei. Right, b'ner shenidma b'tamei mace, with a ner that became tamei from a tamei mace, so that's also rishon, right? A mace is avi avois, right? Somebody who touched a mace is an av, and this ner touched somebody who was tamei from a mace, so it's a rishon, right? Even though we add on tumah to the tumah. Right, so seemingly these two cases are exactly the same. All they did was add tumah onto the tumah. So Amar Meir, the Reim Lamandu Shasarfin Trumah Tahira Ima Tameh Pesach. So if that's the case, then we can learn out from the Beis Hamikdash. Since we're burning it for chametz anyways, then you could burn trumah that's tahira with the tamei on Pesach, since it's just going to be burned. So by meaning you have to burn it all by the 6th hour. So since it's going to be burned anyways, who cares that we're taking trumah that's tar, making it tamei? It's going to be burned anyways. So Rabbi Yossi Einahi Amida. No, that's not true. You can't compare the two cases, which we'll see in the Gemara. in a blot from now exactly why Rabbi Yossi felt you can't compare. The Chayr, it seems like a very good comparison. In the Beis Hamikdash, when they were burning everything that was tamei, they didn't care if they upgraded some meats from a shlishi to a sheni. They didn't care because they're burning it anyways, right? And the oil too, they upgraded it from a shlishi to a rishon, right? So by chametz too, if you're burning the trumah chametz, so why? Who cares if we take trumah tahira and make it a tameh by burning it? Doesn't make a difference. It shouldn't make a difference. But Rabbi Yossi disagrees with that limit. That you can burn this one you can burn. Now the question is, the Gemara is going to say why exactly is this sentence in here? You burn this one by itself and this one by itself. But what's the disagreement? Right, so we had last week that there's something called trumah that's tali. It's hanging, right? It's hanging. So it's not. It's a safek tameh, right? So it's a safek tameh. So we don't know what are you going to do with it. You can't eat it because it's safek tameh. You can't burn it because how can you go burn trumah? So it's just hanging. So they're saying there's a Machlokes ala tuluya val tamei. On tluya tameh, you still have to burn the tluya, which is a safek by itself, and you have to burn the tameh by itself. You can't burn them together because you're going to upgrade the tumah. You're going to up the trumah. So you're going to upgrade the safek, right? Rabbi Yeshua understand, right? And therefore, and because you're burning it anyway, so what's the difference if you're upgrading it? Okay, so basically, I don't know. I didn't find this Mishnah to be so difficult. I hope I'm explaining it correctly. But again, basically, the gist of the Mishnah is that seemingly in the Beis Hamikdash, the first thing to know is that you're not allowed to upgrade something to a higher level of tumah on purpose. If it becomes tameh, fine. You're not allowed to purposely make something tameh. Mamela, you can't upgrade something either. If something became tameh, something was shlishi, then it was very smart. Something was a shlishi, then you can't make it into a rishon. But when things were being burned in the Beis Hamikdash anyway, so then we don't mind upgrading it from a shlishi to a rishon, right? And we wanted to learn that out. We wanted to learn out from there that Pesach too, when you're burning the chametz, you're allowed to upgrade the tumah because it's being either the kodshim or for Pesach it's not kodshim. You're allowed to upgrade the trumah to a higher level or from a safek trumah because it's going to be burned anyway. So that's what we want to learn out, and that's a Machlokes whether we're allowed to learn out Pesach from that or not. Fine.
Excuse me, is Shmuel Sugar on the shir tonight?
He was on. Galaxy S8 is usually Shmuley.
Yes, I am.
Shmuel, I want to interrupt for 1 minute if you don't mind. Shmuel, when was the Shas? How much after the Korban Beis Hamikdash was Shas?
I'll look exactly the date. Well, when it was written or
Gemara compared to how much after the Korban?
I'll look right now exactly. I don't want to say exactly. I have a book right here that says exactly. So I'll tell you in a minute.
What are you worried about, Rabanan?
I'll tell you why, because I hold that the reason the last shtickle ended with the Machlokes, if they put the chametz on the stav where they had the shor making believe they were plowing on Har Zeisim, that's what they're putting in here because they're not going to believe Rav Chanina's kind of him, even though he was in the Beis Hamikdash, and they're not going to believe him. So they put this in something they have a Machlokes on something that the whole Klal Yisrael saw, and they're having a Machlokes. What they do Erev Pesach. Whole Klal Yisrael was in Yerushalayim. There was millions of people, and they're having Machlokes what they did. So I want to know how much after the Churban was this to see that nobody remembered what they did. That's as an introduction to Reb Chanina, who doesn't get the respect he should because he's kind of him, and they don't believe him.
Fair enough. He's an anical, by the way. Reb Chanina's kind of him. Just I don't know. He's not a kohen, but.
Aaron, how long have you been holding that in for?
I just thought of the last shtickle now. But Shabbos, I thought of it. I didn't know. Rabbi Chin is going to come. I've spoken to Yaakov many times about that.
Yes, we've had this. Yes. It's very interesting that you have these things and major things that went on in in the Beis Hamikdash, and we don't know what they were, what exactly what went on.
It says the Gemara was completed by, he died 475. So
And what was the Churban?
70 with the
So it's 400 years. Okay, thank you.
400 years is a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. Longer than I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Anyways, okay, so now the Gemara is just
what's the difference?
That's
What's
the
the
body.
difference?
That's not the tummy.
between
Sorry.
What's the difference between the two that are saying whether or not you could burn it separately and burn it together? Because it seems like the Mishnah says two different days. One you have a Machlokes where Rabbi Yossi says no, you can't put them together. But at the end of the Mishnah, you're saying that Rabbi Yeshua, or, it says like, either you could burn them together. Each one burns. Rabbi Eliezer says that you burn them each by themselves. Rabbi Yeshua says you burn them together. So I'm kind of confused on what the difference is and why you need both of those cases.
What do you mean of the?
What's the second part of the Mishnah? What's the end of the Mishnah telling me that I didn't know from the first part of the Mishnah? In terms of burning things together and burning things separately.
First part of the Sefer, or the first part of the Mishnah.
The first part of the Sefer.
What the Maidim Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yeshua? Maidim Rabbi Elazar, Shram Zula Atzma. They both that we have to see in the Gemara, because the Gemara is not exactly sure what the Mishnah right now is not sure.
Right before that, with Rav Asi and Rabbi Eliezer, right?
Right.
How is that different than the end part than the second?
So because there it's talking about upgrading something from one tumah to another tumah. The Sefer is talking about making trumah that's tahar tameh. It's a different subject.
Why burning is burning? Meaning, like, why they? Meaning, if you're going to hold that making something, changing the status of something is okay for the first part, so let it be for the second part. Who cares?
No, that's true, because but it's still a different subject, right? It's still a different subject of burning trumah that's not tameh. There's two things: burning. You can
learn one out for the other. But you can learn the second part out of from the first part. So what do you?
Right. So the Gemara is going to. Well, even in the ratio, you have this kasha, right? Why do you need two examples? So we have to wait to see through the whole Gemara for this. I mean, there's 7 blot on this. There's 7 blot on this Gemara, right? Of exactly what's going on. So, yeah.
Ultimately, isn't it Machlokes whether Masifin tumah or not?
That's exactly what he's asking. At the end of the day, that's the Yisrael.
So everyone holds that it's usher to be tamei to trumah.
Correct. The shaila is they did it in the Beis Hamikdash when they were burning it anyways. And then how can we learn out from that?
Not tahira.
Well, we're going to discuss tahira too.
Right. But that's the difference in relation to Sefer.
Well, one is trumah, one is not. It has to be trumah. That's the issue. What?
The Akiva learns trumah also, no?
What are you saying?
That's trumah.
That is trumah. That's shemen shenitra.
The Chanina's Kanakayim is talking about kodshim. Rabbi Akiva said they added trumah.
Right.
So we have trumah and kodshim. The difference in the ratio in the Sefer is whether you can be tamei tahirim.
And a chanami.
So ultimately, the Machlokes in the Mishnah ends up being Masifin tumah or not.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
So when we continue, Rabbi, is there functionally a difference for this between trumah and kodshim in terms of tumah?
Yeah, well, what trumah goes only up to a shlishi, and kodshim goes up to revi. For kodshim, it goes one step. There's one more step tumah for kodshim.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see the Gemara. I would say we're going to see the Gemara. It's going to get clearer. There's no guarantees on that. Okay, and the reason why is because, one of the reasons why is because there's exclusions to all these rules. So all of a sudden you're reading a Gemara and then you ask a kasha, and you say, oh, except for that case, right? And then to remember all the exclusions of the cases is very difficult, right? Okay, so michti. Let's analyze what went on in the Beis Hamikdash. Basar shenitma bevlad hatumah mai havi. So a meat that got tamei with something that came from a tumah. So what is that? That's going to be sheni, right? The meat became tamei from something that was born from a tumah, right? So something born, a tumah is, let's say, is a avi avois, right? This was born from it. That's not avi avois, avatuma, right? The thing that was born from it is a rishon, and if you touched it, you become a sheni, right? So it's a sheni. Kisarif, what are you burning it with? Bahadi basar shenitva ba'avatuma. You're burning it with meat that became tamei from an avatuma. What's that? But meat that became tamei from an avatuma is a rishon. So what is it becoming? My havi sheni. So sheni v'sheni hu. They both end up being shenis. My ma'asav like tumah al tumah sayika. Well, you're not adding any tumah. It was a sheni before, and it's a sheni now, right? Again, you're taking a sheni piece of meat and you're burning it with a rishon. So what does that rishon make that piece of meat that's a sheni into? A sheni, right? If a rishon touches something, it makes that thing into a sheni. So it's sheni and sheni. What's the issue? Right? We're saying that you're not allowed to add on a tumah. That's not adding on a tumah. That's taking a sheni and touching a sheni. No problem. You're taking something that was already tameh and making it and touching with another tumah. So what? Right? It's like taking somebody who was exposed to a virus and exposing them again. So what? Right? I don't know if that's such a good mashal. Doctor's on. I don't know if that's such a good mashal because maybe it's a different strains, whatever it is, right? Okay, but it's the same level. Some Rabbi Yehuda, hacha bevlad vevlad askina. No, when the Mishna says, this is a typical example, right? So you read the Mishna, it says vlada tumah. The Mishna, it doesn't mean vlada tumah. It means a vlad of a vlad. Right? Means it was touched with, it was really a shlishi. So tahavile shlishi, because it's a shlishi, because of a shlishi mutulasa, it's a sheni. And the Mishnah is saying that we held that you're allowed to take a third level tumah and upgrade it to a sheni because it's going to be burned. Right? Now we have a different kasha. We know a rule that food is cannot make another food tamei. So what are we burning here? We're burning meats that became tamei in the Beis Hamikdash, right? So food is making a tameh food, and we know food can't make food. The tanya yochel eichel matama eichel. You would think that eichel is matama eichel tama loimer v'chiyitin mayim al zera. If you put water onto seeds, v'nafal min ivlasim alav, and then a nevela touches it. Nevela is always tameh. Nevela means something that was not shechted. So tamehu. This is the pasuk, and we know that any food, in order for food to become tameh, water has to fall on it first. That's the source. This is the pasuk for that source. Whatever it is, the Gemara we learn now tamehu tameh bein osek yotze betameh. It can become tameh from something, but it can't make something similar to it tameh. So what's similar to it? Food. Food cannot make other food tameh. So how can we say here in the Beis Hamikdash meat is making other meat tameh? So when it says hanicha Abaye da'amar, this is good according to Abaye who says lo shanu el b'chulin, that this is only by chulin. But trumah v'kodshim, but by trumah and kodshim, by food can make something tameh similar to it, meaning food can make something tameh. Fine. That's only chulin or trumah. But by kodshim, meat can always make other meat tameh shaper. So according to both of those opinions, it works. Meaning there's a machlokes. According to everybody, kodshim tameh food can become. Not according to everybody. According to these two shitas, kodshim can make meat tameh. Trumah is a machlokes whether for trumah purposes whether one meat or any food can make another food tameh. It's a full pasuk. Right? Loishna chulin, loishna truma, loishna kodshim makes no difference whether it's chulin, truma or kodshim. Ain't no by food does not make any food tameh. Ma'ikalam Eimar. What are you going to say? What's the problem here in the Beis Hamikdash? Food doesn't make other food tameh. So what should be the issue? So my answer is because there's liquid on top of the basar, right? So we're talking about where the basar it didn't have a rub. It had a sauce. Had a sauce on it, right? It had barbecue sauce in it, not one of Peretz's rub. So if it was a rub, that's not a sauce. This is talking about where it had a liquid on top of the meat. The komitame machmas mashkin, because liquid always acts as a conduit, I guess would be the word. Is that the right word?
Conductor.
A conductor is probably better. Yeah, conductor is a better word, right? Liquid is a conductor of tumah. So there was liquid on the surface of the meat, right? So that mamela, any liquid always gets bounced up to a rishon, which is what the thing that Aaron Kaplan, in that chart thing that he showed, there was a water there that automatically, whenever water gets touched by any sort of tumah, it automatically gets upgraded to a rishon. Why that is, we'll see as we go along. So then, because there's a lot of tumahs like bodily fluids and stuff like that can get mixed in liquid, and that's really avatuma. So we always look at liquids that they get bounced up to a rishon. So therefore, here too, the meat had a liquid on it, and memela it gets upgraded. So when it says ihachi hai im habasa shedit b'avatuma, this that it says with basar that became tamei avatuma im habasar umashkin mibayile. It should say with basar and liquid, not just basar, because you need the liquid in the middle. Otherwise, the whole thing is not an issue if there was no liquid there. Ella, so the Gemara says Ella. So now we're changing pshat. Ella nihi dei noicham tamei midaraisa. Granted, food can't make other food tamei midaraisa. Midarabanan miyam tameh. Midarabanan, it can make something else tamei. So therefore, we're talking about a tumah that's a derabanan, right? So in the Beis Hamikdash, all these meats that we're talking about that are becoming tamei, that's a tumah derabanan, because they're all becoming tamei from other food, which midaraisa does not make anything tamei. Fine.
What's the Gemara kasha that it should have said ima basar umashkin? The mashkin is a turtle, whatever it is.
Yeah, but it's only becoming tamei because of the mashkin. If there would be no mashkin here, there would be no tumah.
So in the lumdus of ilchus tumah, fine. But in the materials of what you're doing, are you burning? In the lumdus of ilchus tumah and tara, fine, there needs to be mashkin there. But in the materials of what you're doing, are you burning meat or are you burning mashkin? You're burning meat. You're not burning mashkin.
Yeah, but it only became tamei because there was liquid on it.
True. Yeah. So we're talking about burning now, not how it became tamei.
No, but it only works.
The lumdus of ilchus tumah. So what? The Lemaisa did it become tamei. What are you burning? We're not teaching you, the Mishna's not teaching you a halakha of how it becomes tamei. Teaching me a halakha what you can burn together. And so far as you're burning it, you're burning meat. You're not burning mashkin. What's the kasha of the Gemara?
I hear. I don't know. I thought Pashut that's the only way to becoming tamei. So therefore it's something that should be said. Okay, I don't know.
It's like in Hilchos Brachos, you're eating tas, and there's a tuffle to it. You need to tell me that you're eating tas with the tuffle? No, you're eating tas, period.
Well, if you're trying to teach the tuffle, then maybe.
That's the Makashi. We're not trying to teach the tuffle.
When you're eating the herring with
the chiddush together.
It's a gershon's a chiddush to say that you don't make a bracha on the Ritz cracker, but you make on the herring. You make a shako. So it's a chiddush. That's to tell you that.
Well,
he's going the more a more advanced case.
100%. 100%. That's what if the Mishnah was talking about how things become tamei, then yeah, 100%. You would need to say umashkin. We're not. We're talking about the burning process. It's not important that there's mashkin there for the burning.
Okay, I hear what you. All right, but all right, I don't know.
Doesn't anytime you cook meat, doesn't it release liquid anyway? So what are we adding with the sauce here, right? There's liquid inherent.
Oh, but it has to be a substantial. That's also part of the. That is part of it, but the question is whether that would be considered liquid, that the liquid that comes out of it, right? Right. That's I don't remember what we come out exactly. Which liquids make it, which liquids don't make it, but. Anyways, okay, let's see about this. So, right? So Rabbi Akiva added, it said the second case, right? The first case were meat, and then he discussed oil that became tamei, right? So, michti shemen shenifsel b'tful yoim mai havi shlishi. So, a tful yoim is always a sheni, right? I don't know always, but the pasha is a sheni. So, what is it? The oil became tamei with somebody who's a tful yoim. Again, tful yoim is somebody who toiveled that day. but is still not tahor, not fully tahor, right? Again, now you're taking the oil, which is a third level, right? And you're lighting it with a candle, the ner that became tameh from a tamei mace. So what is that? That's a sheni. My havi, it's a sheni, right? Because again, the ner that became tameh from a tamei mace is the ner that became tameh, right? So tamei mace is a av. It's a rishon, right? The ner is a rishon because it touched somebody who became tameh from a mace, and now it's touching a shlishi. So now we're making the oil into a sheni. My kamashmalan, what's the chiddush? Shlishi mutar says sheni, that you're allowed to take a third level tumah and upgrade it to a second level tumah. Hainu hach. That's the same case we said in the ratio. What are you teaching us more? Now we get into a different rule of tumah. Talking about a ner that's made out of metal. The Rahmana Omar, the Torah says a separate rule. Now we're on Amud Beis by metal. B'chalal cherev. It says in the pasuk b'chalal cherev of a mace, with the body, right? Somebody who got killed with a sword, right? Cherev, and then we learn out from that. Cherev areu k'chalal. The cherev is similar to the dead person. Favile avatuma, and the metal. So meaning somebody who became tameh from metal.
That's why parents gave the swords tonight. Everybody doesn't understand.
Oh, very good.
They don't understand.
Parents, it's mamash. You hit it on the head.
Parents didn't understand either.
Yeah, but some people have siyata d'shmaya. You know what I mean?
Subconsciously, he knew. Right, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Maniba is a big deal in the last couple of parties.
Yeah, very good. Very good. There you go, parrots. Parrots, you could start taking on Sundays. You could open up a Kabbalah Institute or whatever, Mekubal, take some money. Yeah. So anyways, so we're saying that there's a new din, a separate din. This is what we're saying before, that everything has its exclusions, right? So you can hear the swords being hit in the background. I don't know if you could hear it or not, but there is, if it would be metal, we'd be having mamish case in point over here. Okay, so Vahavile Avatumah.
At this point, I'm very scared to hear them stop.
Yeah. Can you get them to the basement, maybe? Our parents is enjoying this. Yeah. Okay. Well, bring them to Yeshiva Akaway. All right. Okay. So Vahavile Av, right? So B'chalal Cherev. Cherev is like a cholol. Vahavile Avatumah. So it's an Avatumah. Right, meaning the cherev always, Rashi says the cherev always gets the level, right? It's always going to go to an avatuma. Yeah, so memela, this metal thing got upgraded. Now the oil is being heated up in a metal jar. So
why does it always do that? It's just some axiom.
It's exeris hakosim. It's exeris hakosim. Yeah, that's also a thing here. There's no lumdus. I mean, there's plenty of lumdus here, but it's all based on the pasuk said. The pasuk said. So therefore, we're not upgrading the oil from a shlishi to a sheni, right? We're upgrading the shlishi now to a rishon. So now that we're jumping it 2 levels. So that's the chiddush of the second case of the Mishnah, that we can jump it 2 levels. So the shlishi is mutter to make into a rishon. So who says that he had to say it's talking about a metal kli, right? Maybe it's a ner shel cheres. Umay hoisif, and what are you adding on? The ilu hasam tameh v'tameh, right? By Reb Chanina, it would be tameh becoming a tameh. Ilu hacha pasal v'tameh, because the trumah is a shlishi, right? So when something's trumah for a shlishi, if that oil that's a shlishi goes and touches something else, nothing happens, right? If I take that oil and it touches, I don't say me because that's not a good example, right? It touches my phone, let's say, right? Does my phone now become a revi? No, because my phone is not trumah, as far as I know, right? If anything, it's tumah already, okay, but that's a different, right? So it touches my phone, so it becomes, there's nothing to it, so it's a puzzle, right? So now we're taking something that's puzzle and we're making it tameh. Maybe that's the chiddush. So why do you have to go with a metal thing? So Amarav Mastisin Kashir, no, because he had a kasha from a Mishnah. My area, the Tani Ner Shenitu but tamei mace. How come the Mishnah had to say that the Ner touched something that was a mace, right? Nisni Shenitu b'sheretz. Why sheretz is also avatuma, right? Somebody who touched a dead person is an avatuma, and a sheretz. A sheretz is a good old weasel or whatever, any of those type of things. It's also avatuma. How come the Mishnah had to say that the metal touched a tamei mace? Why couldn't it have just touched a sheretz? Nisni shetama b'sheretz. Elaezu davar shechaluka tumah bein tumas mace l'sheretz. What's the only thing that's different if it's tumah, if the tamei mace or sheretz? Havayom ezem matches. That's metal. So that's why the Mishnah must have taught mace, because it wanted to say the case of metal. Fine. So Amar Rava Shma Mina, from this whole thing, because of Rabbi Akiva, tumas mashkin l'tamei acherem d'oraisa. So later on, in another blot, we're going to have a Machlokes, right? There's a Machlokes tanoim, right? Liquids, right, can give me tameh anything. Yeah. Normally we said food can't, at least with d'oraisa. Liquids can. Can liquids be metama other things only from the Torah or from the or I'm not only, meaning only with the Rabanan, or even from the Torah? Again, not just the Machlokes, whether liquids can make something else tamei min Torah with the Rabanan. So Rabbi Akiva must be that Rabbi Akiva in our Mishnah holds that it's the Raisa. These are the Rabanan michti hai ner ma'ikam ahanya lahai shemen. What is this ner doing with the oil? Ilaf sule gufe. If it's coming to make the oil puzzle, ha puzzle v'kay. It's already puzzle, right? It was a shlishi, right? So therefore, it must be that it's up the it's a rishon. It's a liquid, right? So therefore, it's going to be a deraisa to upgrade it. So Gemara says, no, who says? Maybe it's the Rabanan. Where do you get it's deraisa? So Gemara says, if it's the Rabanan, so why does it have to be touched with an avatuma? Even if the oil was lit in a rishon or a sheni, right? It's going to be upgraded to a rishon, right? Tchila is another word for rishon. Tchila means beginning, rishon, right? So it's going to be upgraded to a rishon, right? A liquid is always, like we said before, a liquid always goes to rishon. If a liquid touches something, even though it touched a sheni, right, or a shlishi, if it's kodshim, rishon always bounces back up to, liquid always bounces back up to a rishon, right? So then, if it was the Rabanan that we're talking about here, then even rishon v'sheni also would be the liquid would go to rishon. Anything that makes trumah puzzle, that's just a code word for shlishi, right? Metama mashkan liyos tchila is going to make the liquid to the tchila. Chutz mitful yoim, except for a tful yoim, right? Ella. So what do we say? Shma mina deraisa. Who knows? So Rabbi Akiva must be saying he holds that it's a deraisa. And therefore, that's what the Mishnah is coming to teach. Okay, I guess we'll stop here because the next few lines are really connected to the next Gemara, and it's going to go partially down the next Amud. So, all right, I hope we got our feet wet a little bit, no pun intended here with this sugya, and then tomorrow night hopefully we'll continue Be'ez Hashem. Okay, sorry for the noise in the background.
Yeah. It was no big deal.
No, I'm sorry.
It's all good, Parrot. So it's
That's your sorry
face. Like the Shabbos entertainment. Yeah.
Really,
Thank you very much.
I really think you were going to take that one step further. Once you said, I hope we got my feet wet, I thought you were going to say, we got to get to the meat of the sugya now, at least.
Oh, very good. Okay, another pun. Okay, there's a lot of puns you could do here. A lot of puns.
He left that for you and the doctor. He left you to have material.
Yeah, that's right. Got to share the wealth. Naftali, how's the hotel, Naftali?
Very good, very nice. I'm actually with your cousins now. Your wife's cousins.
Brokia,
your wife's cousin, yeah.
I hear. Okay, very nice.